Boris is helping me solve a problem. I have a crazy design idea that I want to play test by you and see what you think, because Boris helped me come up with this one. And now you can play test ideas, but here's the problem normally when you play test ideas and why you tend to find eventually people that you trust to do this. When I say this, your first reaction is going to be no. So ignore your first reaction and think about it for a little bit. And it's not actually that wild of an idea. It's just kind of a dumb idea, the way games are going. So here's the deal. Playing Tarkov and those other games, there's a couple other games like that, like PUBG's like this, where I put headphones on and I am dialed in, I am listening to everything intently, right? I am solely focused on that. I don't like to play a lot of games like that. I like to have games where I'm watching women's softball, right? I'm hanging out. Watching the Guardians this year, or even a movie sometimes. Like, I'm playing, but like I'm mixing my time. I do that, and you could say that's not fair to either thing I'm watching, but hey, whatever. But also, I have this little guy in my lap sometimes. Yeah. All right, I gotta brush you. Oh, did I show that? Oh, this is X-rated now. But what if, for a stealthy game, not a stealth game, first of all, it's not a hardcore stealth game, but for a loose stealth game, what if sound just didn't matter? What if the only sound that mattered was like if somebody hit the food dish, and then all of a sudden somebody has super hearing, or like Siri, right? Siri only reacts when you say, "Hey Siri," in theory. You ever see that movie Kimmy? It's not a very good movie, but that plays into that it's always listening kind of thing. I am a Neanderthal, though. If you combine Lenny Kravitz and Lisa Bonet into one woman, I'm gonna watch the movie for a little bit. Or all of it. Okay, but in that, like, they pick up some strays because they're not listening just for that, but other things as well. But if you were just listening for that, and not for other stuff, there could be a gunshot right next to your head and you wouldn't react to it, right? And as long as you could justify that in the kind of the world and the story, that'd be okay, right? So you can just have music playing, like boomer shooters, right? Boomer shooters do this thing where you're solving the combat equation there visually. Almost always. I don't know any that really tie in that you have to be stealthy. That's all about the visuals and the action and the movement and the visual tracking. And I like that. I like that in games, and there's a bunch of games that do that, right? Where you can mark enemies and you can do that kind of thing. Like I have that in my prototype now. You can mark enemies or any character just that you want to track. And it lets you track them and it lets you see their state. And there's a justification for that, and I think it works. So like just putting it into the visual, and that way I can play music. I can have music in the game that's talking about stuff and going crazy, right? Like, I'm not talking about stuff, but you know what I mean? Like setting the mood and kind of building and not worrying about being if you're stealthy or not, but yet you could still have those moments. I think there's some version of that would work. And I'm trying to think of examples of games that have a stealth element in it that totally ignore this. Like there's games like, there's a lot of bad stealth games, right? Where, I mean, even like Wildlands that I bring up a lot as an example, it's pretty loose with the sound. You can't just go crazy. The Far Cries are the same way, right? You can't go crazy with the sound, and they make you get they make you put something on the end of your weapon there to silence it a little bit. But it's not that big of a deal. Because, guns, movies, everybody really downplays how loud guns are. Guns are insanely loud, which is why you should always wear ear protection when you're shooting them, especially in a range. But like, I gotta shoot a Scar, and I remember alongside of it, it was like poo, 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 poo. A little bit in front of it, it was like bah! It was crazy, and it's like the sound profile of that because it has to get rid of that sound somewhere, and it can choose a little bit. I guess I didn't realize that till I had gun, and that made me think about that a lot. But yeah. What if you fought enemies that just in their sound registry of things they cared about, they didn't care about that? If you said, "Hey Siri," they'd come swarm you. But I don't actually use any of those things, by the way. You shouldn't use those things. And again, yeah. All right. Just kind of curious, your thoughts. And then, are there examples of this in games that are done well that I could go look at and steal all their ideas.